haven't gotten that far.
Okay. But eventually that's the plan
Yes.
too. Which will also be great.
It will be great.
So many great things.
Although that will then guarantee anybody watching the live stream will go get snacks during the announcement parts of worship. Okay, so thank you, Ellen, for doing announcements. Do you want to queue up, Anita? Sure. Or do you just want to introduce yourself as you come up?
I can, either way is fine. I don't.
Dang it.
Okay.
Charlotta.
Should I
It says Charlotta
do it
Ramsay.
from the podium?
Yep.
Cafe.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep my comments brief because
Great.
I have a lot of them here, but I just want to lift up a couple things and then let.
Great. Yeah, short and sweet is good, and I promise I will lift up things.
Oh yeah, no, I'm trying to like. I might have to leave. I've kind of forgotten that I had so much in here, so I'm just gonna highlight a couple things.
Fabulous. Okay. After the ABC testimonial, we will have an invocation that will be the choir. So as you are coming down, the choir will
We're just
come
going to
up
gather in the
right
in the
here.
front, so it won't be too much
Short
of a
invocation. Chris will light the chalice. Maybe is going to pull someone from
Yeah,
the
we're going to try and get somebody from the,
to light the chalice, and then you will read the words, and then you will read the mission statement after that, and then share your opening words. Following your opening words, you will also cue up the hymn, which is a song by Levine, May I Be Empty, and the words are in the order of service.
I think I'm going to say something like, and Johnny's going to teach
You don't have, I mean, you can say that.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to do it.
Okay.
And they'll get it. So whatever feels
Yeah,
natural.
I thought that was a good lead-in.
Great.
Okay, good. I will offer the time for all ages.
Wireless, you want wireless?
Yes. No, handheld.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The children, Recessional will follow that. Chris will offer the invite the offering. We'll have the Offertory with music again by Susan Adams, and then the response. So we give thanks.
What are we doing?
Where Chris, you and I will
Choir's just going to stand
as
up
she starts to play
and do it
that.
from where there's.
As she starts to play, we'll stand up and then we'll come down the stairs and meet the person. I'll take the basket and then we'll turn back around and walk back up. Prayer and meditation. During the prayer and meditation, the choir is going to sing.
So are you going to invite the choir, or you just want that to be understood?
I want that to be under. Well, what I was going to do is
They'll be in the front, so they'll be
I was
closest.
going to invite them to participate in candles first,
Yeah.
if they want to, so
And then
they
we'll-
can then set up.
We'll just be standing over by the platform.
Great. Then after the prayer and meditation, candles of joy and concern, I'll offer the sermon, and then the closing hymn is hymn number 83. I'll call people to singing that. Chris will offer chalice extinguishing words. I will extinguish the chalice, and then close with the benediction. And following the benediction, the choir will come up and offer the Postlude, which is the song I'm Listening by Leah Morris.
Question, how many verses for the hymn?
There's only
Still?
It's
All
three?
of them.
Yeah.
Right, I'm not looking
Oh,
at
that's
the
right.
hymnal, I'm looking at your arrangement, so
Yep.
okay, thank you.
So all of them's not helpful, is that what you're saying?
If it's only once.
Okay, well, I tried to be helpful. They are. Let us take a minute to center ourselves. There is a beautiful convergence today of the idea of listening deeply, which is another way of saying listening with your heart, and a opening of a conversation with our congregation around what it means to steward this place, to help hold all of the magic and the comfort and the care and the creativity and the forward, future-facing vision that this congregation exemplifies. Let's be grateful for our opportunities to be be a part of that invitation. Amen. Morning, Charlotte.
Good morning.
I'm here.
I was like, where are you going?
I didn't realize I was supposed to get here.
Oh, no, that's okay. I didn't really think about it until I asked.
We've been here since 6 o'clock.
No,
Where
it's
have you
okay.
been, Charlotte Ramsay? So, what I was thinking was, what Tom guided by your thoughts, was to go up with you and just kind of stand back.
Yes.
I want to know who your
And then,
candle
yes.
person is. It was all
Yeah,
set
no,
up
I think
before
that's
you even got
a great
here.
idea. Yeah, no,
Have
that's
someone,
I know, and I
have
tried
someone
to,
in the,
like, it's going, kind of goes out.
I'll
like,
take care of
a
the
lot
table for you.
stuff
And
in
that's
here.
why who does that, and then you just come on.
You know, and they're,
Okay.
Looking forward to your words.
but I'm gonna highlight a couple things, and then, yeah, the theme of the Brody rings,
Yes, it is.
and to let people know that we're going to receive their financial commitment form. And if they can get it in by October 27th, they will include it in what we do.
Maybe win.
They can maybe win some great prizes.
And will help us in the
Yes,
church.
exactly. Just acknowledge that not everybody's in the same place. That it's in
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I am Kirsten Hunter, the Director of Lifespan Ministries here at South Church. Not working? How about now? Is that better? Let's start that again. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kirsten Hunter. I am the Director of Lifespan Ministries here at South Church, serving in co-leadership with Reverend Ellen Quadgrass and in co-ministry with all of you. I am so delighted to have you here, whether you're here in person or joining us on our live stream as we start the month of October, which is kind of blowing my mind. I can't believe it's October already, but what a beautiful day and what beautiful faces we are in the company of this morning. This month we are embarking on the question of what it means to practice deep listening. The kind of listening we do with our hearts, and how by listening to the world around us with our hearts can teach us how to live our lives with love at the center of everything we do. Today is also Stewardship Sunday, but please don't run out. I know sometimes that gives people a little bit of anxiousness, but I invite you to think about an invitation to stewardship as an opportunity to tune in to your heart and see what it is telling you and calling you toward. In a little while, you're going to get to hear from the Annual Budget Committee, and they'll speak a little bit to the point around the stewardship campaign, and I just want to lift them up, because the work of stewardship, the work that the Annual Budget Committee does, is such important work for this community, and they do it with their hearts, truly. Anita, Rozeff, Mike McGrail, Carla Cole, Mo Leary, and BJ Lates. We are grateful for the work you all are doing. And when you see them downstairs at their table over the next 2 months or so, please tell them, please give them love for their stewardship of this beautiful community. I have been so impressed with their thoughtful, visionary work. Everyone, as part of our welcoming each Sunday, we acknowledge the land where we gather. Ndakina, which is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki and the Pennacook people, past and present, people for whom justice and self-determination has been long withheld. And along with this acknowledgement is a call to remain committed to action, to repair the harm that has been done to our relationship with Indigenous people who still live in our communities and across the world, as well as to repair the harm that has been done to the land herself. I encourage you to look at your order of service for details about today's worship and everything that is happening in our community. You may also see downstairs today a new feature Jen Leiden has created where there's a whole scrolling television giving you kind of a summary of announcements. A great place to catch up on what's happening as well. Our music this morning is offered by our Director of Music Ministry, Johnny Pfeiffer, Susan Adams, our pianist, and we are joined by the South Church Choir today. Leading worship with me today is Worship Associate Chris George, who I'm so excited to be leading worship with for the first time that we've had this opportunity to partner. And deep thanks also to Jen Leiden and Ben Abbott, who are holding down tech and all of the logistics of the day, and to our Director of Children and Family Ministries, Jen Del Deo. Children who are here with us are welcome after the Time for All Ages to head downstairs to participate in our incredible religious education programming. And if you are new, Jen Del Deo Berry is a great person to connect with. I think she'll be up. I don't see her yet. Oh, she's right in the back. If you're new, just find her and she can help point you in the direction of where you need to go. We have assisted listening devices and large print hymnals in the back. If you need them, please ask an usher for assistance. Please take a moment to silence your cell phone if you have one. And Reverend Ellen is going to offer a few announcements.
This is going really well. Getting all the challenges out of the way in this service. So, a couple of announcements. You have your order of service, wonderful things in there going on to read, but I want to lift up a couple of things with just two hands. One is that the immigration team and the social justice associates, collaborating with one another, are offering a program on October 9th. You can see that. It'll be at the library at 7 o'clock, so I encourage you to go to that. There will be an opportunity to prepare meals for Seacoast Family Promise. That's Seacoast Family Promise. That is between October 27th and November 2nd. You can find out more about that downstairs. The holiday auction is gearing up and would love to have your creative donations. So if you want to find out what kind of donations people have offered in the past and what you might be inspired to offer, go right downstairs. There's going to be a table and you can find out what people have done in the past. There is an opportunity for selfies. This is Selfie Sunday. Jen Leiden will be downstairs, and she'll be helping take some photos for you to put in our directory so that we can know who each other is, because we've got so many wonderful faces, we want to be able to put names to them for each other. I want to let you know that there are memorial services coming up. There's one coming up this coming Saturday, the 12th of October. We're going to be celebrating the life of Sue Thoresen, beloved member. And also on the 19th of October, we're going to be celebrating the life of Jillian Carter. And if you would like to help for the reception afterwards, please come and talk with the pastoral associates. They're looking for a couple more people to make some cookies or help with setup and so on. It's going to be, both of those are going to be just beautiful celebrations of the lives of these very, 10:30 is when those services are going to be. Thank you, Jen Leiden. And then finally, you will notice in your order of service a wonderful October-themed, colorful spiritual decathlon invitation, 10 new opportunities to practice your spiritual practices. And number 10 is the Choose Your Own Spiritual Adventure, which could be just about anything, maybe even some of the things that you're reading about in your order of service, because a spiritual practice is anything to which you bring a certain intention, making it a spiritual practice, and to which you bring a certain quality of attention, an open-heartedness, a deep listening practice, as Kirsten just so eloquently stated. So if you are doing a spiritual practice this month, yes, indeed, you too can get one of these. It may not be quite this size in reality, but it will be this size, at least in my imagination. So I'll be downstairs at coffee hour offering stars. Thank you so much, everyone.
My name is Anita Rozeff, and I am so happy to be here as the convener of the annual budget campaign committee. I know that probably says a lot about me that I'm excited about it. Oh, thank you. I'm not sure what it says, but anyways, I'm happy to share our theme, which is Treasure Our Values. And as of today, we've already raised about $123,000, which is amazing. There are more details in the order of service on a green-colored sheet if you want to read about them. Our goal this year is $630,000, which is a little bit higher than last year's goal, but as some of you might remember, we didn't quite make it. So if you would like to increase or possibly could increase your pledge, we're trying to make up that difference, which is about 11%. The financial commitment forms are in the mail, so you'll receive those. And if you can get them in by October 27th, you will be able to be entered into a raffle with some really wonderful prizes. A 2-day trip to Star Island or a chartered boat on the Utopia for 20 of your best friends. So on that note, I know that not everybody can participate at the same level and that we have different economic realities. And our overall goal is to make sure that we have 100% participation. And we've been close the last couple of years, but it really would be wonderful to reach that goal. On that note, I just want to thank the committee members and a shout out to Joe McEachern, who is a late add to the committee and is doing a wonderful job trying to line up testimonials for the next few weeks, of which people will actually share how they value this community. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Charlotte Ramsay. Thank you, Charlotte.
Good morning. So when it comes to the annual budget campaign, the question for me is not whether to pledge, but how much. What is the right amount for me to give? This past summer, Reverend Ellen convened a group to talk about the spirituality of money, which probably sounds like an oxymoron to many of you. I was certainly skeptical myself. But our conversation turned out to be surprisingly rich and thought-provoking. I shared with the group an experience I'd had many years ago when I was living in Thailand. I was taking a course on Buddhism, and in class I described the monks as begging for food. The monk teaching firmly but gently corrected me. We are not begging, we are giving people the opportunity to do good. That reframing illuminates my giving to this day. The group also spent time examining some ingrained attitudes about money that influence us consciously or not. A common theme was being taught to save, save, save for a rainy day, for college education, for retirement. This was certainly true of me. My parents came of age during the Great Depression, and it was a bedrock belief that I needed to be saving all the time because I could never have enough money for what might be needed. As I thought about my pledge, I turned back to reflecting on all that South Church gives to me. It is a community that sustains and affirms me despite my flaws and shortcomings, and it certainly gives me many opportunities to live my values and encourages me to do so. I asked myself, what am I saving for at this point in my life? Yes, I am very fortunate financially, and I'm aware of that. I saved money, but I also inherited money from my parents, and neither I nor my extended family have any special financial needs. So I've decided to increase my pledge by 20%, and for the first time in my life, to give 10% of my income to South Church. I stayed focused on the right amount for now, and not on what I might be able to give next year. Our own B.J. Lates wrote in her poem, "The miracle comes when the giving and the receiving come together in God's love, in that sacred moment of oneness." South Church and I, each of us, are both giver and receiver. united in a sacred moment of oneness. I am filled with joy and gratitude. May it be so for all of us. Thank you.
As we light our chalice here, we invite people watching at home to light a candle or chalice of their own. We light this chalice today with these words from Sarah Gibb Millspaw. In times of light and times of darkness, may this small flame kindle what is good in us and in the world. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in reciting the mission statement printed in your order of service. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. When I look back on the institutions of faith that I've been a part of and think about my role in stewarding these gatherings of care, I can see a pattern in my own growth and feelings of connectedness based on the investment that I was making. An investment of my own willingness to participate and give of my time and of myself. A stakeholder within a community of caregivers and seekers who wish to experience the divine in our everyday lives. In seeking out the divine, I've spent time in sweat lodges and churches, temples and meeting houses, ashrams and shrines and holy places. I've always experienced the world as a complex mystery, seeing signs that reflect the true arc of the Spirit as beyond the rational linear approach of knowing that is embraced in the West. It hit home to me in high school when I first fell in love that this world had to be more than the sum of its parts. Love is so overwhelming when first experienced. It changes the ways that we're able to interact with the beloved and the world. It's transformative. I kept thinking that love was so outside the parameters of a rational linear world that there must be other ways of experiencing this world. And my exploits in seeking the divine have reinforced that through the years. And mixed up in all of that was my underlying desire as a seeker of truth, a seeker of belonging, a desire to know the divine here on earth, a seeker who wishes to be seen. Tied up in that seeking within a community of caring is that process of being seen and one's ability to see others. I feel deeply fortunate at this stage of my life that I can spend these years belonging and being seen with all of you. And now please rise in body or spirit as Johnny will teach us our opening hymn.
May I be empty and open to receive the light.
May I be empty and open to receive the light.
May I be empty and open to receive.
May I be empty and open to receive.
May I be full and open to receive the light.
May I be full and open to receive the light.
May I be full and open to receive.
May I be full and open to receive.
All together. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
Okay, if anyone would like to come hear a story from a little closer up, you are welcome to do so. I wrote us a story today connected to some of the things that are happening in or something that has been happening in our country. We just had a really big storm, and I wrote a story about a storm. This is called After the Storm. Once upon a time, there was a big storm. It was scary and destructive. All along the path that it traveled, it ripped up roads and destroyed houses. When the storm passed, the people who lived through the storm were overwhelmed. They were scared, and they were tired, and they didn't know what was going to come next. The people were also really amazing.
Because even though they were scared and tired and overwhelmed, in the days and weeks after that storm, something also started to happen inside them. They became very generous and very kind with one another. People, if someone had access to a generator and had some electric, they told all of their neighbors and let them come and charge cell phones or use the refrigerator that was still working. If someone had running water in their house, they told all of their neighbors, and people brought jugs to the house and filled it up and shared it across the community. The kids in the town were helping too. They were helping carry jugs, and they were helping clear debris, and they were helping their parents just by reminding them that they loved them, that they were doing a good job. And kids are particularly spectacular kinds of beings because kids also know that a part of doing hard work is stopping and taking a break to play. And they would do that too. Now, I have to tell you, before I tell you more about this story, these were not remarkable human beings. These were regular human beings. This is something about us. We are a kind of a creature who thrives on helping each other. It's in our DNA. In fact, in the times when we are having the most struggle in our life, one of the biggest things we can do to feel better is be generous and kind to someone else. That's just a part of being human. It's just true. So anyway, back to these kids. These kids were working really hard to help support their community, and they were being super kind, and they were doing what they could, and they were taking breaks to play. And there were two sisters who found one day in a pile of debris a tire and a big stretch of rope that no one needed. And they dragged that tire and that big stretch of rope up to a clearing in the woods, and they made a tire swing. And they spent about 2 hours that day swinging on that tire swing, taking turns, pushing each other, and they had so much fun. And on their way back to their family, they passed 3 kids that were in the front of a lawn, and they noticed that these 3 kids had built a seesaw. They had found a big board and a bucket filled with cement, randomly, and they dragged the bucket on its side, and they put the board over the bucket, and they were seesawing, and they were having the best time, and the sisters saw the seesaw, and they had an idea. And they said to the 3 kids, "Hey, we made a swing in the woods. If you want, we could bring your seesaw up by the swing, and we would kind of have a playground." And the 3 kids thought that was a great idea. So the next day, all 5 of them grabbed this bucket filled with cement and grabbed this board, and they dragged it up to the woods where the swing was, and they put the seesaw up, and they played for hours, and they had so much fun. What do you think happened next? What do you think?
Found more kids with more stuff.
More kids and more stuff! Of course! And more kids and more stuff came up to the clearing, and that playground started to become a for real playground. There was a lot going on. There was games, and there was things to climb on and things to play with, and there was other kids. In fact, after not too long, there actually started being other adults too, because that playground was making everybody feel better. And so parents would come up there with lunch, and everybody would eat lunch together at the playground. And sometimes after dinner, people would come up and just hang around and talk while the kids played at the playground. And for the days and the weeks and even the months after that storm, that community had a really hard time. They were working really hard. Everything didn't get instantly better. But that playground and the kindness and the love that all of those people discovered sure did help. That is our story for today. We're going to sing you a song now.
During the month of October, our collection will be shared with the Dover Children's Home. The Dover Children's Home provides tools and support for youth to heal from emotional trauma through community-based treatment programs that foster relationships and enable youth to create hope for the future. Please give as you are able. The offering will now be gratefully received.
So I'd like to invite you into a time of meditation or prayer. If I had to pick one thing over the past year that has inspired me the most, without a doubt, I would say it was the thousands and thousands of Jewish people across the world who have chosen to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people, fighting for a ceasefire and a better future for all people. Day after day, month after month, not enough has been said about the power of that act of solidarity that we keep having the opportunity to witness. It has rattled the status quo and awakened people across the globe. The Jewish High Holy Days this week are holding so much. Tomorrow is October 7th, marking a full year of unfathomable violence and terror and grief. There are no words for what we have seen unfold, and none of it is okay. Judaism is not a violent faith. Islam is not a violent faith. Unitarian Universalism, for that matter, is not a violent faith. And yet people of any faith, and of no faith at all, are susceptible to the propaganda of the nations to whom we have married ourselves. And we are all complicit when we support violent decisions that those nations make. My prayer today is for peace.
a prayer for the seeds of a new vision to take hold. One that recognizes that war never makes humanity safer. One that realizes we are running out of time and we need global partners, not enemies, to solve the problems we are facing on our earth. I pray that the most powerful nations of this earth, especially our own, return to a commitment to international law that applies to allies just as it applies to adversaries. May those nations with the most power seek to enshrine their own accountability. Because without it, power can make us blind, and it can make us cruel. I pray that we will refuse to accept a system where people profit from war. That we will make clear that bombs are terror, always, no matter who is dropping them. And that we will cry clearly and loudly when politicians from any party celebrate war and military might. And for all of us in this room, I pray we find balance between our responsibility to the world out there and our capacity as one person doing the best we can. So much needs our attention right now. Right here at home is where most of our energy belongs, here in our community, tending and caring for one another. When you need rest, rest. When you need someone to talk to or someone to lean on, that is what this place is here for. Reach out. Ask for help. Offer help. This life that we are living is a miracle. And you, each of you, are precious. And none of us are alone. This was a hard year. May the days ahead bring healing and vision and hope. I'm going to give us some time to sit in meditation. If people would like to light a candle, you're welcome to come forward, but I'd love to invite the choir first to do so they can add some music to our time of meditation after they finish. Poet James Cruz wrote this poem. It's titled Only Love. Only love is big enough to hold all the pain of this world, says Sharon Salzberg. And so I imagine the entire earth as one beating heart held in the space of this universe, inside a larger body we can't fathom, filling with enough love to lead each of us out of the cave of our personal pain and into the light. Enough love to lead all humans as one out of collective fear, rage, and hate into a place of peace that is found only within our own hearts, beating in sync with the pulse of this planet we were born to inhabit. Despite the daily storms which overtake us and make us forget we are the lifeblood pumped into these veins, every particle of love we generate, running into rivers, lakes, and creeks, evaporating into the air, we breathe, give back, and breathe again. This month, we are invited to reflect on the practice of deep listening, and today, as you've heard, we're beginning this annual stewardship campaign, and as I began to imagine this morning's sermon and this convergence of incredibly challenging things to talk about all at once, I found myself sitting with two questions. The first is, what do you hear when you listen to acts of love in the world? And the second is, what does love have to say about money? In 2017, I made a trip to New York City to see an exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum. It was titled, "We Wanted a Revolution, Black Radical Women, 1965 to 1985. 2017 was a year of deep learning for me. That year, I could not find peace with what was happening in our country, and I was often preoccupied by things that felt beyond my control. In many ways, this year has reminded me of that one. 2017 began with the inauguration of President Trump. I was actually in Nicaragua with a group of 10 congregants when he took office. I was glad to be out of the United States, grateful to be on a learning journey hosted by the UU College of Social Justice. The trip was an opportunity to learn about the work of La Fundación Entre Mujeres, or FEM, a feminist peasant cooperative working on food sovereignty, agroecology, and the economic, ideological, and organizational empowerment of peasant women in Nicaragua. Whew. I arrived in that country desperate to feel a thriving love, and that is exactly what happened over the course of that week, both amongst our group of travelers and also in witness to the people we met. One of the many things that stuck with me during that journey was a story of how those incredible women learned to organize. They were close to my age. They had been children in the late 70s and early 80s during a time of tremendous violence and revolution in their country, largely due to US imperialism. The women we met had grown up amongst mentors who taught them how to be revolutionaries, how to be creative in the face of devastation, how to imagine that the world could be different. And they were taught to believe that they could shape it, that different was possible. I think that was one of the first times in my adult life when I really began to understand the hardship, the time, and the relationships that are so often a part of stories of transformation. After that trip, I found myself paying more attention to ancestors, to mentors, to backstories, to things under the surface and threads that connected one event to another. That was why when I read about the exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum, I made a plan to go see it. I wanted to understand more about the revolutionaries of my country, of my childhood, closer to home. I wanted to feel the art that was teaching them and holding them around the same time that the revolutionaries in Nicaragua were raising the women I had met and planting in them the seeds of change. I wanted to continue building on my growing understanding that liberation is a collective endeavor. Here in the United States, as it is in Nicaragua and across the globe, it is something we do together, which has been already living and growing as a movement for generation upon generation and is always ready to gather more of us under its wing. One of the parts of that exhibit in Brooklyn that has stayed with me was a curation of art and photos from a gallery artist space called Just Above Midtown, or JAM, which was opened in the year 1974 by artist and activist Linda Good Bryant. 1974 was the year I was born. JAM curated exhibits and events highlighting artists, particularly, though not exclusively, Black artists who were being excluded by the mainstream art world at the time. Walking through the retrospective, you could feel the joy and the liberation that was fostered by that community project. But what I particularly remember, and the photo is on your order of service, was one whole wall covered with unpaid invoices and overdue notices. Along with all of those preserved receipts was an explanation that Bryant never had the money to make that project happen. And she didn't let that stop her. She knew that if she stayed focused on her vision, that the money stuff would either work out or it wouldn't. She didn't really have anything to lose. If you look at interviews with her, she says, "I never had money, so I didn't really think it was a problem." She was right. For 12 years, JAM acted as a central convening space for Black artists, providing community, educational opportunities, and support that white-owned galleries in New York were rarely affording them at the time. Thomas J. Lax, a Museum of Modern Art curator who worked on an exhibit about JAM, said in an interview, "It was creating a space for Black folks to experiment, to not know, to be uncertain." Life is not dictated by how much money you have, said Linda Good Bryant. If you realize how many other resources that are much more valuable than that, like our imaginations and creativity. We can learn so much just by listening to acts of love in the world. It is a spiritual discipline we begin to recognize through witness, and over time, we develop an ear for it. Just as you might develop an ear for music or poetry, you can develop an ear for acts of love. And when you do, it's a kind of awakening, an attending. You can see it when people are attuned to the sound of love in action. Like the resonance of a tuning fork, there's an energy that spreads from those kinds of moments. It makes you want to be a part of it. It draws you in. It draws in community. It draws in solidarity. It draws in investment. I felt it when we visited the women at FEM. I felt it standing in front of that wall in the Brooklyn Museum. I have felt it many, many times since. I feel like my muscle gets better every week. With practice, human beings can become adept at centering themselves toward love. And as Unitarian Universalists, we profess that love is the power that holds us together, that it is at the center of our shared values. We say we are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. So I guess that means we have to practice. Those words that I just shared emerged from 5 years of discernment amongst Unitarian Universalists all across our country. Where they came down to it, the word at the center was love, and the practice of living love in the world. The spiritual discipline of love is discovered when communities of trust, like this one, are in service to a more liberated world, in whatever way you see that path. Have you heard some of those qualities in acts of love that you have witnessed? Often, acts of love emerge from hardship. Love requires a willingness to experiment, to not know, to be uncertain. It requires a multitude of resources, including our imaginations, our creativity, our time, our patience, our vision, and, yes, money too. So, what does love have to say about money? I am pretty confident love would say money is a tool. It can be used in the service of liberation, and when it is used that way, it is invaluable. Valuable. Invaluable is a funny word. It is valuable. And it can be used in the service of destruction, and when it is used that way, it is harmful. Money is never the only tool, and it is rarely the most important tool, and we don't have the same access to it, which means we don't all have the same questions to consider about it specifically. But when we ask ourselves how we plan to treasure our values in the world, in a moment or in a year or in a lifetime, we aren't asking for a dollar amount. We are asking to let love speak through us, through the tools that we have. When we do that together, anything is possible. I had the pleasure of sitting and talking with a longtime South Church member, Nick Eichleman, a few weeks ago. And he was telling me that he and his wife joined this congregation in 1969. He's not the only one who's been here that long, by the way. At that time, Unitarian Universalism was not even officially 10 years old. At that time, though, South Church was at least 10 years practicing being Unitarian Universalists. We did it before the AUA did. We've always been a little ahead of the curve, that group of kids who like to be out there on the edge. And I love that about this community. In 1969, though, South Church had 39 members. 39. They had so little money that they couldn't afford to heat this room. So they met downstairs in the wintertime. They were deeply considering whether or not they would be able to keep this building. I kind of picture that wall and all of those invoices and a group of people who said to themselves, maybe it will work, maybe it won't. What do we have to lose? And they went forward. And we're here, partly because of those 39 people and a choice that they made. On the floor, in this room, kind of scattered about on Friday night, there were 20 high school kids and youth advisors sleeping in sleeping bags. We were staring up at a dark sanctuary, looking at the shadows that these incredible windows cast into the room at night. It makes you feel tiny and infinite all at once. Those children are growing up with this place in their hearts. They're growing up with all of you in their hearts. They are getting to know one another by the light of candles in the dark of this beautiful sanctuary, in the midst of an unknown world outside. And that is because of each of you. That is because of all of us. Because we each hold a piece of the vision of what this place is becoming. And because we bring our tools to it and we give our hearts to it. And that is something remarkable. I'm going to invite you to sing with me hymn number 83.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
This is written by Lynn Unger, quite a few years ago, but it's so appropriate. I'm tired of praying, she says. Whoever hears my prayers, it's not the murdered, the flooded, the victims of fire and famine and war. No praying, unless accompanied by food or water or a casserole or a hug. I'm tired of talking, yes, even me. I'm tired in my soul of the truth's impotence, of how badly we all listen, of how language builds a fortress. No more talking, unless you will tell me the story of your broken heart. I'm even tired of solutions, which are never enough and never actually solve the problem, which it turns out those in power didn't ever really want to solve. No solutions unless they are stronger than the force of greed. Today, just for now, I only have time for choirs or dancing or trapeze, for actions in which we entirely depend on one another, actions in which we hold one another, in which we hold ourselves to the rigor of singing harmonies to the same song.
Silence. Spirit, speak to me. I can hear the voice of all my kids.